It's happening again. Same old story for the Chargers. This time, another disastrous outcome. I remember just 3 weeks ago how happy we were. The team was 3-0. It seems like everything was coming together. Well, life comes at you fast in the NFL. Now the Chargers are 3-2. The Chiefs, it looks like, are about to be 3-2 as well. This one hurts. This one hurts a lot. What's up, everyone? I'm Sam Peña, a Bolt fan in the Berg for Chargers Digest, where we talk about all things lightning and all things painful. That's what that loss was yesterday to the Washington Commanders. It seemed like the Chargers might have had an opportunity early with a 10-0 lead to be able to put that New York Giants loss behind them and go up 4-1 on the season. But everything came crashing down in just the worst way possible. There's always going to be a certain point with all the mounting injuries where the Chargers simply wouldn't be able to keep up, and unfortunately, it was yesterday. So let's talk about all the issues that we saw from the Chargers, some of my key takeaways from the game, and if there is any sort of hope moving forward here. The first thing we have to talk about is the obvious one. It's the offensive line. Yet another injury has put this offensive line in completely the worst possible position it can be. Yesterday, both Trey Pipkins and Mekhi Becton were in and out of the lineup with injuries. Pipkins eventually leaving the game entirely. The Chargers are now rolling out probably the worst starting offensive line in all of football, with guys like Austin Deculus, Jamari Salyer, and then, of course, the struggles that Bradley Bozeman has had. Really, the only bright spot in yesterday's game on the offensive line was Zion Johnson. He was the only one who seemed to be able to hold up at all. And when you look at the numbers, this is just absolutely concerning for the future of Justin Herbert. Starting off with, since 2020, Herbert has been the quarterback hit the most in the entire league, 525 times. Second on that list has been Russell Wilson at 490. And remember, Wilson has played for 3 different teams in that time span. Herbert is currently on pace to, by season's end, have tallied over 640 hits in his career. That's more than Andrew Luck did in the first part of his career during that same time span. And remember, Andrew Luck ended up retiring because of all the injuries and the struggles that were put on him because the Colts didn't properly invest in the offensive line. The Chargers, quite frankly, this team does not look like a Jim Harbaugh team right now. Jim Harbaugh is known for building a strong, dominant front line, and he's just not doing that. Daniel Popper had a great article that was published last night talking about the failures that the Chargers have had to be able to invest in this offensive line. It seemed like they were making the correct decisions last year when they took Joe Alt in the first round. But since then, really the only major investments they've made have been Mekhi Becton, who's been dealing with injuries and being sick all year long. And then they took Branson Taylor in the 6th round. Even though we saw this be the worst interior offensive line in the playoffs last year against the Texans. For some reason, the Chargers didn't invest in the offensive line, and now it's biting them in the butt. This is not a team that can compete in the playoffs if they don't find a way to get a higher level of offensive line play. When you look at the time that Herbert has right now, he is, number one, tied for the 3rd most sacks in the league, and he has the 6th worst wide receiver drop rate. He's not getting help from his weapons, and he's not getting help from his offensive line. Now, the weapons have improved compared to last year. We've seen the steps that Quentin Johnston has made this year, but drops are still an issue for this team. That 4th and 1 play, Tyler Conklin had the ball in his hands, and he just couldn't hang on. And that was the turning point in the game. Herbert is experiencing drops, and that would be okay if the team could make up for it with their offensive line play, but right now, they just can't. He's averaging 2.1 seconds before pressure. That's the worst mark in the league and the worst mark in the past decade. You cannot build a sustainable offense if you have 2 seconds to get the football out. Herbert has now been pressured 80 times through 5 weeks, the most in the league. And for all those people out there who are going to be blaming this loss on Herbert, for all the Nick Wrights of the world, for all the Kevin Wildes, for all the Stephen A. Smiths, all those people saying Herbert's crumbling, in those 80 pressures, Herbert has 0 turnover-worthy throws. His 4 interceptions this year, 3 of them were tipped passes, And the fourth one was when his receivers ran into each other and the ball went past them and was intercepted. He has yet to throw an interception that was his fault this year. He only has 2 turnover-worthy plays in all of his dropbacks so far this season. And this is the most pass-happy offense in the league. I really think there's only one thing you can say at this point. It feels like Justin Herbert is cursed. It feels like this team is cursed. He never catches a good break, and right now this team is not catching any good breaks because Omarion Hampton is now going to be missing the next 4 weeks at least after suffering an ankle injury yesterday, going on to IR. This is already a running back position that lost Najee Harris for the season with a ruptured Achilles. Now the Chargers are going to be going into week 6, rolling out Kimani Vidal, an undrafted free agent, and Hassan Haskins, another undrafted free agent, as their starting running backs. Now Vidal and Hassan Haskins have both shown some promise as pass protecting backs, but they have not shown that they can be starting NFL running backs. The Chargers' decision not to re-sign J.K. Dobbins looms large, especially since Dobbins has been playing very well for the Denver Broncos this season. And also the decision to cut Raheem Rocket Sanders seems to be a big problem as well for this team. You can't run the football, you can't pass the football, you have no offense. You can't pass block, you can't run block, you have no offense. And if you don't have the explosive playmakers in the backfield to be able to create on their own, you have no offense. Omarion Hampton seemed to be, outside of Herbert, the only consistent option the Chargers had in their offense, and now he's gone for at least the next 4 weeks, maybe potentially even more. But beyond that, that wasn't the only reason why the Chargers lost this game. In fact, it's not the only reason why they've lost the last 2 games. The defense, which played so well for the first 3 weeks, really is struggling right now. They had 24 penalties and 18 missed tackles over the past 2 weeks. They're only averaging 11.5 pressures. That is an insane statistic. Outside of Tuli Tuipulotu, this team just cannot get to the quarterback. Tuipulotu has generated 27 pressures in 5 games. The rest of the Chargers pass rushers in that 5-game stretch have totaled 17. He has 10 more than the entire rest of the team combined right now. Caleb Murphy right now has not proven he can be an NFL pass rusher. Kyle Kennard has barely seen the field, and Bud Dupree is well past his prime. So the Chargers can't protect their quarterback from pressure, and they can't get pressure right now on the opposing quarterback. Jaden Daniels had way too much time to throw the football yesterday, and even when he did have too little time to throw, he still managed to make plays because the Chargers are missing tackles. But be it injuries or just the sloppy play, this team, dare I say it, is starting to charger once again. I hate to see it, and I hope it doesn't continue, but unless Harbaugh makes some actual investments to be able to fix this offensive line, and unless Greg Roman is able to figure out some way to be able to operate an offense with 2 seconds to throw, the Chargers' losses might not stop here. Thank you all again so much for watching. I'm Sam Peña with Chargers Digest. I really appreciate if you guys can like and subscribe and commiserate with me. It's good to know that there's some other people who are as sad in the world as I am right now. Anyway, hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and until next time, Bolt Nation, bolt up.